Welcome to the Go Big Redcast, the Husker Fan Sports Show.
Welcome to the Go Big Redcast. I'm your host, David Gaspers, and I'm with Boomer.
Well, I'd just like to welcome everyone to tonight's show and just let everyone know that we're not seeing him tonight, but I think sooner or later we'll be seeing a slightly modernized version of Redcast Honky making a reappearance, hopefully complete with corn cob and overalls, but I can't make that happen for sure.
Now that's a good one, Boomer. I appreciate that. It sounds like Trev told us tonight that Herbie's coming back in all his glory with a slightly modern touch, and I'm sure we'll see Redcast Honky in a similar fashion sooner than later. Also with Redcast Rob.
Well, it was kind of nice having a full week off, no shows in between. I was talking with some friends and family, and they were asking me, what's it like being on a podcast with you, Dave? And I was like, well, sometimes, he can be a real pain in the ass. He can really just, chat my ass. And sometimes, it's just, he's just really on my ass. But, I don't mind that, he's just always giving me shit. And that's just the way it is, but I will say this. He's the best podcaster, or one of the best podcasters I've ever worked with.
Hey, Rob, are you going to be able to get Brody Belt on the show anytime soon?
That is actually, after that, I hope so, because we can just throw ass and shit around the entire episode. We don't even have to worry about it. I'll have Boomer
Robert. We do run a relatively clean show here. That was a funny take. Brody Belt was a little bit explicit with his verbiage today on his presser. I'm sure Mickey will be on him to clean that up. So I'll be on you to clean your act up.
Yes, sir.
On the Redcast.
I've been watching a lot of Friday Night Lights, so you'll just get a lot of yes sirs from me. And
That's right. All right. Well, anybody watching us live right now, see we do have a fourth Redcaster on. It's not Honky, but it's my nephew, Talon Strong, a lifelong Husker, born and bred in Columbus, just like everyone else on the show except for Rob. Talon, say hi really quick.
How you guys doing?
All right, man. Talon will do a fan forum segment with us tonight. We're always trying to better understand Husker fans from all generations, and we rarely bring in the younger 20-somethings. And so Talon will help us get a perspective different from what me and Boomer growing up in the 80s and 90s have, and he'll join us for the rest of the show. Should be a lot of fun. Rob, why don't we take care of our sponsors?
Absolutely. First, I'd like to remind everybody that as the Go Big Redcast is part of the Herd App family, so is Hail Varsity. And you can actually go out and buy a subscription to Hail Varsity magazine using promo code REDCAST at hailvarsity.com/subscribe to receive a $10 discount on your first year's subscription. Make sure, again, to go to hailvarsity.com/subscribe, enter promo code REDCAST for your $10 off. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Alumni Hall that has two Lincoln locations, one in downtown and one at the South Point Pavilions. You can get all of your licensed Husker gear, especially your Adidas sideline collection that they have this year. And in the past, you've seen me wearing their hats. You've seen Honky wearing the hats, their shirts. Or there's my picture of my Aloha shirt that I do like to wear, right before I jump in the hot tub at night. And you can go to www.alumnihall.com/Nebraska-Cornhuskers for that. Also, are you looking for a job? Are you looking for a work environment that is friendly, fast-paced, not customer-facing? You can show up to work in shorts and a T-shirt every day, just like I like to do. Go to jobs@fsc.com and look more into their opportunities because they are hiring. And also, a shout-out to our good friends Shane and Laura over at Smack and Smooch. They make custom shirts and specialty items for all of your family reunions, your gatherings, your Husker gatherings. If you come up with a cool slogan, they'll throw it on a T-shirt for you, much like this War Daddy Up with the muscular corn. I think that's the new Herbie mascot, I think, that they're throwing out there. And and you can follow them on Twitter or Facebook at Smack and Smooch and send them a direct message, and they would love to talk to you guys. I know they love talking to me. I talk to Shane at least once a week about more Redcast gear, so give them a shout out.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. Always good to take care of business. All right. Let's see here. Let's see if I can throw up the fan forum logo there and throw up Talon's Instagram account. Is that right, Talon? Instagram?
Yes, it is my Instagram.
I see you're taking
He's-
the newspaper reporter approach to photos there and finding one from like 20 years ago to slap on there. So I like that.
He's future realtor Talon Strong.
Well, Talon does have a perfect broadcasting name. He doesn't even need to change his name for if he was a radio host or anything. It's like a DJ name already set up.
No,
Can you imagine like a broadcast with Iron Eagle and Talon Strong? I mean,
it's perfect. It's so
know.
set up.
I mean, he might be calling football games for like Auburn or Georgia Southern, but maybe Nebraska someday. No, he's already.
That's the hope.
That's right. Well, Talon, thanks for joining us here. It should be fun. I've wanted to have you on the show for a long time, and with Honky like incognito right now, we figured like, what the heck? Let's bring a Redcast Junior on and talk a little bit about just your fandom. And we have let's see if I make sure I bring up the correct fan forum show. We have this now. We've done this multiple times, right, Rob? Honky and you have done some fan forums and have brought some pretty illustrious guests on. And we have 4 basic questions: why you're a Husker fan, what's your favorite memory as a Husker fan, who's your all-time favorite Huskers, and what happens by season's end, or let's just kind of project out and talk about the next few years of Husker football. So, Talon, you ready for this?
Yeah, I think so.
Ready for it your whole life, right?
Oh man, I was born for this, I think.
All right. Well, the easiest question is the first one. Why are you a Husker fan?
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. Really, I was born into it. I mean, my mom was always a big Husker
You're my nephew.
fan.
Of course you were born into it.
Yeah, I've been rocking Husker gear since I was a baby. It's kind of part of my family. My mom's always been into it. My grandpa was always into it. It's just it's hard to really fathom, because you don't think you're gonna choose a team when you're young and rock with them forever. And it's just kind of how it went. Even all my brothers watched Nebraska football. It's just how it was in the house. And if you didn't watch Nebraska football, then you were less liked. So it's just how it is. I've always loved them.
Now, Talon, you're the youngest of 5
Yes.
boys, right?
Yes.
So you pretty much had like half a team right there. So it's kind of handy.
yeah. We were doing tackling drills in the living room when we were younger. So we've always been ready.
That's right. I mean, that's pretty typical of Nebraska fans. You are typically born into it, and that helps you get through some of the lean years, obviously, right? Now, as I was alluding to, Boomer and I, we can go back to the 80s and 90s, and we have a lot of awesome memories. But even though you haven't had that large catalog, I'm hopefully you've got a few of them over the last 21 years. Are you 20 or 21?
I'm 20.
20. All right. 20 years of your life. So what are your favorite memories?
I think the top one is probably the Amir Abdullah, one of the final plays of the game against McNeese State to win the game after playing maybe one of the worst football games we've ever played.
That is true. It saved Bo's job.
Yeah, it was a rough one. But just watching him do what he did, I mean, I really think he should have been a little higher on the Heisman candidacy list. But, I mean, he just took it over, knew we were in trouble. And that's just the type of player he was. I think another big moment that I really enjoyed was probably the Ron Kellogg Hail Mary to Jordan Westerkamp.
Yeah.
That's a big one. So,
yeah,
there's a couple
awesome.
other ones sprinkled in there. They're kind of sad. So,
that's all right. That's real though. Like, what was one of the more like disappointing memories? Like one where we lost the game or whatever.
I think you got to go back to 2009 Big 12 championship game, Texas.
Absolutely, I was there, man.
Watching Ndamukong Suh throw Colt McCoy was probably one of the happiest days of my life. And then just how we lost. You know, we really got cheated out of a Big 12 title, and I think it's all politics. So that was a really sad one for me.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Boomer, what do you think about some of those memories?
Well, they're interesting. It's just, like you said, Dave, it's just fascinating to see the difference, you know, from like our memories, like you said, to memories nowadays is, hey, we got by that FCS team with a miraculous play by one of our great running backs. It was a great moment, but it is a great moment, but man, that's tough, you know. So.
And the Northwestern victory, to your point.
Yeah, the Northwestern victory. Yeah, it's different era, that's for sure. So it's kind of admire people that can be fans through that. So we had it easy in a lot of ways.
Now, Rob, I mean, you became a Husker fan about time or Talon really started to probably pick up steam because 2010 or so, probably, or fair to say?
I mean, hardcore, yes. And I talked about this a little bit on the Gen Red podcast on there. Hardcore, yes, and it's your fault, actually.
I know.
I had recently moved, like I was living in Thornton, and then I moved to Denver just so I could be closer to you guys and our Husker fandom. That's not true, but sort of. And but
it's good for the podcast.
Closer to you guys because most of my friends lived in Denver at the time. So,
I got you.
And and I mean that wasn't even.
So I guess my question, Rob,
it was Pelini, and Pelini wasn't losing a ton, right? I mean, we used to talk about how we were one of the best 5 teams in college football during that period during Pelini's years because we had like as many wins as like Alabama and Georgia, or like
we consistently won 9 to 10 games.
Yeah,
sure. Rob, I guess my question to you is like, do you have some of those similar memories? Are some of your top ones in the last 10 or 12 years, or do you have different ones in that same period?
I don't know, man. I was so drunk for so many of those games.
Truth comes out.
It was $2 Rolling Rocks at the Giggling Grizzly. What do you expect from me? You know what I mean? But
what about like
the Michigan game, Michigan State game? I mean, when but you weren't there because I think you were at.
I was at the game,
but I was
Riley's catch.
I was at the bar, and all the Michigan, and I was friends with a lot of Michigan State fans who were also regulars at that bar, which I was a regular at. So I was watching the game with them, and again, I mean, that was probably one of the top ones. And I could remember watching the Wisconsin game and just crying myself to sleep that night, thinking like, I'm in it now. Like, this is, I actually care. I'm losing sleep over that loss. Like
the time we actually came back to beat Wisconsin. Yeah. That was,
he's still running.
Yeah. We had a commenter there talking about Alex Henry and his 57-yard field goal to beat Colorado. Talon actually took your older brother to that game, so that was his first game as a Husker. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that's his favorite memory, actually of the Huskers. I think that was a really big.
That one. Came right in at us, and then Sue obviously finishes the game off. So, all right. Well, you talked about Sue a little bit. Who are your all-time favorite Huskers?
Got to go Sue.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just going to say the ones that I really know because I don't know the greatness and how everything worked out from the 80s and 90s, but probably Sue. I was a really big fan of Amir Abdullah.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Bell was a big favorite of mine.
Yeah.
And maybe there's Prince Amukamara.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I got a lot of them. So, but yeah, those probably my top.
A lot of the guys that went off and had success at the NFL level too.
Yes. Yeah, those would probably be my top 4. Maybe you could throw in Rex Burkhead, but there's a ton.
Yeah. Now Boomer has lived many lives, and he actually remembers the 1915s and 20s. So he's bringing up Guy Chamberlain and probably Sam Francis. Wow. Boomer, right? You love Sam Francis.
Nick Halligan would be in the team.
That's right. You do like Nick Halligan. He's a deep cut.
He was. Or Dick Rutherford was also a good one. So.
I don't think I've ever heard of those names. So.
Well, we do have some really good Nebraska history shows. So if you do want to take a deeper dive, Honky and Boomer had a great show with Mike Babcock earlier this year, and a few others like that. Tom Chatella had a great show with us a few years ago about the Colorado rivalry. So, you and the other Redcast listeners can always go back to the archive and listen in. Those are some timeless shows.
Yeah, see what it feels like to really win.
Well, we don't know how that feels on the podcast, Talon.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's right. All right. So the big question, and since we're already kind of turning to next season here, I don't want to ask the question, how do you think we're going to do this year? Because that's just cruel to you. But how do you think we'll do next year with a new head coach?
I think it depends on who we get, right? I mean, you could say we're going to do great, but we've thought we were going to be great, for the past, 4 years since Frost, 5 years since Frost got here. So
that's the truth.
I don't know if I have a ton of expectations right now. I think I want to definitely see who they hire first and go from there. I just don't know if I can really give myself high expectations anymore. Just to be let down just by, the first game of the year usually. So
that's the truth.
You won't be drinking the Kool-Aid by, August next year. Is that what you're saying?
If we can get a guy in who brings what Nebraska needs, I'll drink the Kool-Aid full on and full in. But, we hire another guy like Mike Riley and we might have a little bit of an issue.
That is a good question. What does Nebraska need from your perspective?
I think we need a guy who's going to hold us accountable. I mean, I just think Frost, there's been so many games where there's been excuses at the end of them, and just really we lost, and that's what it is. And I think we need guys that want to take on the pressure and can handle the pressure of playing at Nebraska, because like you guys have said, I mean, we have 5 national championships. The expectation is to win. And if we don't, I think a big problem with Nebraska in the last 10 or 12 years is the players we recruit don't handle the pressure of being a Cornhusker. And I think that's the biggest problem with it is I mean, we can get all the great coaches we want, but until players start living up to what we're asking them to live up to, I just don't think it's going to matter, because you look at these great dynasties like Alabama and what Georgia's doing now, and they have guys who look at the pressure and say, that's what I want. I want to go out there and I want to play the best teams every single day. And if we lose, we're going to come back even hungrier. So I think it's just about a guy who's going to get in there, hold us accountable. And it's a need to win. And these kids need to know that, it's not, let's be mediocre again, 9-4. And there's a reason we fired Pliny. 9-4 wasn't good enough. It just wasn't, because we can go 9-4 consistently and, lose every big game we play. That's just not Nebraska football.
That's well said, Talon. That's well said. I mean, that accountability part is about the culture building, right? And we need a program builder this time around.
Yes.
And it's hard to say who that is, to your point of like trying to, say it has to be someone who has Power 5 experience or has been a head coach for a long time. You have success. Ryan Day was not a head coach before he's had success at Ohio State. Lincoln Riley wasn't a head coach.
That's
all those
whole
things.
Different
but those
situation.
well, that's great, Rob. I mean, expound on that a little bit, because you're probably saying that culture was established in those programs, right?
It was Urban Meyer just screwed up. That's why he got booted from there, basically, and Day got handed the perfect situation where it was like the players already liked him. He was already there, living there, coaching there. They all knew him there. He was part of the recruiting process. And then, and I would love to get to that culture. I guess that's my point, is that, that would be the ideal situation, right? Like, and I mean,
so I think most people agree with you, Rob, and I think it's where Boomer's been at, and I think Talon's kind of the same thing, is that we need someone that has some sort of a proven track record as a head coach, because we don't have the culture, and that's the biggest thing that has clearly been missing for.
I'd like to get a guy we don't have to have this conversation again for 20 years.
Yeah. I'll take 5 or 10, for God's sakes.
Yeah, that's
like I want people making jokes like, "Oh, look, they kicked a field goal, Nebraska's new coach just gotten another 2-year extension, like we do with Ferentz. You know what I mean? That's kind of the same thing, because at least Ferentz has a culture. You know what you're going to expect from Iowa every single year, and they're going to be one of those teams that a couple plays here and there, and they're going to be one of the best teams in the country, but a couple plays here and there, and they're going to go, 8-4. So it's and consistently go 8-4.
But does that also come from less expectations coming into every year? Because I don't think anyone every year is going, Iowa's going to be this spectacular team. We know what they
Talon,
are.
my Twitter's about to blow up because of you.
I'm sorry. But,
from Iowa
fans. I think we know what Iowa always is. They're a very disciplined team. They're not going to pass the ball very well, but they're always going to have a solid offensive line, great tight ends, running backs who can hit the hole, and a disciplined defense. And I think, but no one's ever coming in looking at Iowa saying, this is going to be a top 10 team. Whereas every year in Nebraska, it doesn't matter what we finished the last year. It's that we have expectations to win a Big Ten championship.
We're the offseason champs every year, Talon.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think that's a big thing is, we just don't have guys who want to live up to it or can live up to it, or we haven't had the coaches to get the best out of them.
Yeah. They need to embrace that.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead, guys, and slip on our scarlet colored glasses.
Sounds like we're wearing them already.
Yeah. And keep on talking all things Husker football here. And we're talking about the coaching search, right? And, last show we had a lot of fun with this fantasy Husker football coach draft, where we started to draft through this massive list of potential coaches. And a kind of a fantasy football style activity. And I probably can't remember who I even picked, but I'm counting on Boomer to have all of this figured out. Is that right, Boomer?
Yeah, sure. Go with that, Dave.
If it was a former Raiders coach, he's on my list.
Yeah, luckily I did keep a written record here, Dave. So we're in
good.
Yeah.
I think we ended with Boomer. Were you up next? Is that right?
That I did not bother to keep a written record of, Dave.
Well, I'm pretty sure we got all.
Something.
Well, why don't you run down who we all have off the board?
It is Boomer, by the way. I kept track of that. It was
That's very good. All right,
because we went down the ladder, up the ladder, down the ladder, up the ladder like 4 times.
We're gonna let Talon pick for Honky here. All right, so this should be a lot of fun.
Tonight, so.
It's his fault that he's not on the show. So,
Yep.
Boomer, can you remind us who is off the board here?
Yeah, for the NFL coaches, Dave, you've got Matt Rule. Honky picked Zach Taylor. The rest of the board's still there. On the established Power 5, Dave, you've got Kyle Whittingham and Matt Campbell. Rob is Pat Fitzgerald, Lane Kiffin. Honky has PJ Fleck because we know he's a big fan. Rob also has Shiano. I have Dave Doran. New Power 5 coaches. Honky got Dave Aranda, which we were being generous
Good
to.
one.
Yep, Rob with Lance Leipold. Dave with Chris Kleiman. I've got Mickey Joseph and Kalen DeBoer. For the group of 5, I've got Luke Fickle and Jamie Chadwell. Rob has Deion Sanders, and Honky has Hugh Freeze, also a big fan, I'm sure. And top assistants, we got Bill O'Brien for Dave. I've got Jim Leonard, take him off the board. And then the year-odd bunch, Honky has Urban Meyer, also a big fan. I've got Tom Herman, Dave with Dan Mullen, Rob with Bob Stoops, Honky with Mark Helfrich, and Houston Nutt, and Rob with John Gruden. So there's the Raiders connection. So we could probably do one more round today before we lose too many listeners. So
I don't think at least NU can control his emails coming in and out of their servers, so we can.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. All right, so let's just do 1 or 2 rounds, and we'll move on
keep it
here and
fast.
have a little fun.
Yeah, for sure.
But Boomer, I think you get a start.
I got to start this mess again. All right. Well,
that's what
let's see. What do I need? I need an NFL coach. Let's go for fun with Eric Bieniemy. Why not? So
you never know, right?
You don't.
I mean,
that name's come up a time or two. Let's throw him out there for fun.
Come out of nowhere. All right, Rob, I think it's yours.
Okay. What do I need? You've got the list there, Boomer. What am I looking at here? What do I need?
You need an NFL coach as well.
Is Sean Payton on there?
We have him listed as NFL coach.
So he's still up there though? He's on the board?
Still on the board.
Oh, he's on the board.
Let's go ahead and take Sean Payton because he's either going to be the new Husker coach or the new Raiders coach. here.
There you go.
Like,
So you win either way, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
All right, Talon, you are the auto draft for Honky here. Do you have a name out of here that you want to talk about?
Is there anything that I need?
Honky needs a group
A lot of
5
help for
coach.
Honky.
He needs a top assistant.
Ooh, top assistant.
And
There
he
we go.
needs at least one new Power 5 coach. And he needs an established Power 5 coach. So there you go.
Okay.
Oh, so he's got lots of Power 5 action here you could take from.
Or if there's somebody totally off the board.
I'm going to take Dave Clausen.
Ooh, all right, that's a good choice.
You know, his name has popped up a little bit more just because of the success that Wake Forest had last week, almost beating Clemson.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and his name's been a hot name before for other coaching searches. It hasn't really been that much.
Before, I think, didn't it? I mean,
yeah, I feel like
Riley hire. I think it was the name that came up. It's
yeah. He was pretty young for Wake Forest, I guess, at the time. Now he's been there for quite a while. But that offense is unique, right? He has that slow mesh.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'd work in the Big Ten, but it would be an interesting see.
I figured that was the best option. You know, he's built Wake Forest when I don't think really anyone thought Wake Forest could be built. So
that's fair. He is a program builder, to your point of someone who's obviously established a culture there of winning where none existed beforehand. So, all right, that's good. That's good. Or is it me? Is that right?
Yeah.
Actually, I think I should have went in front of Talon because Honky is back and forth. That's all right. I wasn't going to take Dave Clausen anyway, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
I will quickly move. I'm going to go and take. I'll take Josh Gaddis. No idea. Doubt that Josh Gaddis.
Alrighty then. Yep. Did not expect that.
A likely pick, but I don't think anybody from those top assistants outside of Bill O'Brien is a legitimate candidate. Even Jim Leonard, who I think I was listening to Sharp and Benning this morning. He thinks Leonard's going to be the Colorado head coach next year. I don't know what connection Jim Leonard has with Colorado, but that was his prediction.
Interesting. So,
maybe it was Sam McCune who said that. One of the two. It was on the show. That was interesting. All right, Talon, you get one more pick for Honky here. Any other names out here?
I'm gonna go with.
Yeah, I think you need at least a new Power 5 head coach or one of those top assistants.
I will take. Go. Can you click back?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'll take Chris Kleinman. Did I say? Has he
I think I have Chris Kleinman.
Sold that last week. Yep.
I think your options there would be Sam Pittman, Jonathan Smith, Jed Fish, Dicker.
Elko. Anyone else you're gonna give?
Yep.
I'll go Pittman. Sam Pittman.
There we go.
Yeah, knows how to build an offensive line. That's for certain. You're going to build your team
So
inside out.
So is it back to me now because Dave, we skip.
Back to you, and then Boomer,
and
then
last pick of the week.
What's a name on here that I haven't seen? I already have. Go back to the other slide, please. Like, I feel like we're playing a game show.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So let's see here. I already have one Stoops. Where's the other Stoops? I'm sorry. I'm looking for him on the list.
Yeah, Bob.
No, you want Bob?
You want
Mark
Mark?
Didn't I already take Bob Stoops?
Yeah. So you want Mark Stoops?
So I want
Mark Stoops, number 5 in the established. There you go.
Yeah.
Right,
I could just say take Stoops, and I win one way or the other.
That's fair. So.
Yeah.
It's a good strategy you got there.
I like it. Yeah, it's very, very maximizing. Yeah, I like that. All right, we need one more here to finish this off the week.
Yeah, I think so.
Gosh, we're starting to get slim pickings here with some of these. Just because people would enjoy it, let's just say Jeff Monken. There's nowhere they're going to hire him, but people can dream here, right? So.
I hear Army's throwing a lot more this year because I think everybody thinks Monken wants to get out of there, and he's trying to show that he can actually have a more rounded offense. I don't know. It's
going to be a tough place to try to get out of because recruiting and everything is so different there. I don't know how how easy that transition is to show that, hey, I coached at a service academy and then moving on to the Power 5 or something to that effect. That's got to be a little tricky.
Sure. I mean, I think that runs with, I mean, someone like Troy Calhoun has had such success for almost 2 decades at Air Force, but I just don't know how well he would transition to the recruiting game at that very different Power 5 level.
Yeah, so you kind of just have to be just key to the service academies, keyed into that. And nothing wrong with that career, though, if you can make it work. So.
Yep, that's right. Well, to wrap up the coaching talk just a little bit before we move on to talking about Indiana, obviously we had the Aranda Campbell Bowl this week, right? Baylor beats Iowa State, and I think looks pretty good doing it. I think they had a double-digit lead for into the fourth. I think Iowa State tacked on a late score to end up being only down by a touchdown, but Aranda gets another victory. And Lance Leipold just keeps on winning and taking care of business. And Kansas is, what are they? They 4-0, is that right?
They are. They're
4-0. And Sports Illustrated had them projected to play Alabama in a bowl game in their last bowl projections. I wonder if you could have gotten a prop bet on that at the beginning of the year, what that would have paid off, Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that would
yeah.
Probably get rich from that bet.
That's the hope. That's the truth. I mean, it's obviously, if he keeps winning, and Kansas plays Iowa State this week. Is that right, guys? I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
So it's a Campbell Leipold Bowl now. And if he goes and beats Matt Campbell, that knocks Matt Campbell way down the Husker list of desirable coaches, it seems like.
Well, I don't know. He beat Iowa, so that's all
true.
That is true.
Yeah, it's true.
He beat Iowa,
Bo Pelini also beat Iowa.
He beat Iowa at Iowa's game. Like, I mean, they literally played Iowa's style of football.
Only took them 6 years to do it.
We were all together.
Yeah, I was about
that
to say,
that was fun.
It's been a little while since Iowa State's figured it out.
Yeah.
Usually they find a way to give it to Iowa. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Campbell has not had a lot of success there, but Leipold looks really good, right, guys? I mean, got to be impressed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he makes. I mean, he's doing the most with the least. It seems like from the last few years, and it's just super impressive. I just even watching Kansas, like, having been like my best bet for to take them to not cover. Or to cover the spread, I should say. Was it covering? No, to not. I'm trying to think.
To not cover their spread.
To not cover the spread. I mean, was like my best bet every week as a joke and I was winning money on it, right? So, now I'm like out here going 3-2 in the Betcast season, which we'll get to in a little bit. But yeah,
because you can't rely on Kansas.
But it's been a game I've been watching. Like I'm like, oh, Kansas is playing. I'll switch over to them like on commercials or whatever, just to kind of see how they're doing, or throw it up on my phone while I'm watching another game on TV. And I've never done that before.
Yeah, their offense is fun to watch. I mean, It seems like defense still maybe has a little ways to go, but overall. Now, Mickey, I know, Rob, you love watching the pressers. Name dropped Dave Aranda again today.
Again. Yeah.
Again.
He did.
And, Boomer, I was looking into this just a little bit. It's easy to kind of forget about this stuff. But so Bill Bush was at Utah State back 2009 to 2012. He was actually their defensive coordinator there. One of the other times he was a D coordinator was at Utah State. He actually stepped aside and dropped back down to safeties coach. He might have been assistant head coach as well, but safeties. And Dave Aranda got his first D coordinator gig, I think, at Utah State. So they coached together at Utah State. And then Aranda goes to Wisconsin. Guess who becomes Aranda's safeties coach at Wisconsin?
Aranda.
Bill Bush.
And
and then Aranda goes from Wisconsin to LSU, and guess who follows him to LSU? Bill Bush. And that's where Aranda would met Mickey Joseph. So if you want to get into conspiracy theory here, it's not too hard to connect some dots.
Yeah,
that are head coach and D coordinator.
Hats here soon, but
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Boomer.
Oh, go ahead, Rob. Yeah.
I was just going to say, and going back, I think we've had this conversation too, and where somebody said, "Well, is Joseph really going to want to step back into the role that he had prior to Scott Frost and stick around?" I mean, it seems like, and God, I hate that I'm agreeing with Jim in Minnesota here, but it seems like if Aranda was the coach, it almost feels like Mickey would do that, right? To where he would be the associate head coach and go back into being the wide receivers guy and stick with recruiting. And it really just, it really feels that way, man. It's like, I don't, can we bet on this now still on any of the apps? Like, because it really does feel like
sure,
Aranda is, until Aranda says, I'm absolutely not leaving Baylor, like, this situation, all the speculation, it just feels like it is the best fit for the team right now based on the current coaching staff and people that we would want to keep here, right? Like, I mean, that's and
from a transition standpoint, you could make a strong case there. I mean, you could legitimately argue that if Bill Busch and Mickey Joseph were not here right now, they were somewhere else coaching, and Dave Aranda gets hired as the next Nebraska head coach, he brings in Mickey Joseph and Bill Busch onto his staff, and no one would be that surprised.
Especially because they both love Nebraska so much, right? I mean, that's and
then they also have a track record with it.
It makes sense, and it almost, and I think we talked about this way back when Joseph and Busch were hired, because we kind of speculated that Busch would be hired because I think he was hired after Joseph, if I remember correctly, or he got brought onto the staff as special teams coordinator.
He was an analyst before.
But and we talked about it a little bit, and we had said, that like it kind of felt like we were really setting ourselves up for the future with some of these guys, even, whether Scott succeeded or not. And I think we'd have to go back and check the film on that, but it felt like we kind of had,
let's just say we said it.
Yeah. Sure. Let's just say we said it. But I mean, there was conversations kind of hinting around it, I would at least, but that we wanted, we saw the situation. That's one of the reasons we brought those two guys in the first place, is because if we're going to start building blocks like those two guys, I would build an entire team around the guys that Mickey and Bill want to bring in.
They're the two sharpest recruiters as well, to your point.
Absolutely. They spent their time off recruiting. Like, that's all they did the entire time during the bye week was recruit when they weren't like working on a game plan for Indiana. So.
Yep, I hear you. Well, I don't know. Right now, Lance Leipold and Dave Aranda have some momentum. I'm sure there's other coaches that will continue to pick up steam as well. And we'll follow every step of the way, right, guys?
Maybe.
All right.
Think about it.
All right. Anything else on the coaches? Anybody else that you saw last week that got your nothing? All right. Well, let's preview the Indiana versus Nebraska game, a sellout at Memorial Stadium. Speaking of Kansas, they had their first sellout in forever against
well, Duke travels well, Dave.
Duke,
so.
Yeah, right. But we now have a continued sellout streak. Trev announced that today, that we now have one more to the streak. And Rob, what are you expecting to hear with this matchup between Indiana, who has their first loss of the season? They got taken down by the Bearcats of Cincinnati, and a coach that we would be interested in if he was interested in us, and Luke Fickell. And Indiana's got 3 wins, but nothing really impressive, right?
No, nothing really impressive. In actuality, if you look at their overall stats, especially from a defensive standpoint, they're giving up more points per game than they're basically being outscored by almost like a half a point, really, which isn't much, but by their opponents. They're being outgained in yards. They're being outrushed. They're only rushing about 114 yards or something like that per game, where their opponents are rushing almost 150. Total yards, they're being outgained by almost 150 yards. So, I mean, it's like when you look at it, what are some of the strengths of the defense that they're bringing in, right? And because that's one of the biggest things we have to worry about with our O-line, which is one of our weaknesses. And so far, a defense that wasn't very successful as far as sacks and things like that go. This year, they've got something like, I think they have 10 sacks. They had 2 last game. But one of the biggest things that they have right now is tackles for a loss. I think they have like 28 tackles for a loss on the season overall in just their first 4 games, which is a huge ordeal. Their defensive ends are just basically blowing up the guards on the outside and getting in and getting to the quarterback and
that does not sound good.
No, Rob. It does not sound good at all. And so I'm curious, but I mean, come on, we've had 2 weeks to game plan this, so you would hope. You know, and I do also want to give a quick shout out to Kevin Williams Jr., who is a friend of the show. I was curious what happened and why he wasn't playing more last week, because when I went back and watched the game, the first few plays where he started, he was actually pancaking guys a bunch on the run game, right? And they were running the ball past him, you know, and through him, I guess you could say. And it turns out after about 6 or 7 plays, I think he actually went out injured. He had surgery this week and will be out 2 to 3 weeks, they say minimum. So quick recovery to him right now on the offensive line. So there'll be a couple other guys that are going to be filling in. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see, because one of the reasons those guys is because they're corners too. They're not giving up a ton in the passing game. That's one thing that they're not giving up. And so, which tells me that their corners and their defensive backs are doing a good enough job to cover to allow the defensive ends to get in there to the quarterback, right? It's all about that timing game. So yeah, so it'll be because as far as that goes, I mean, but they are giving up like 7 or more yards per, you know, pass and everything, but they're giving up less passing yards and they're gaining themselves. They're giving up like under 300 yards passing per game, which in college is pretty decent, I suppose. So I don't know. It'll be an interesting game. I think they're, like I said, their defensive backs, you would think they're doing good enough to allow the guys to get in there, but also who has Indiana played so far? You know, what's the competition level? And
their
so
3 wins are questionable competition, and then they, you know, first matchup versus a good team, Cincinnati. You know, they lose by 21. They've definitely hung around in that game for a little bit, but
like 2 quarters, 2.5 quarters. Yeah.
Well, even when they played Illinois, Illinois dominated that game up until Indiana's last drive. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
and I would like to remind everybody, Illinois should have won that game with that touchdown, and I would have covered that bet that week. So,
yes.
Remind everyone of that until the end of the season. So,
bad memories for Boomer there, Talon. But you're right. I mean, they did not deserve to win that game.
But
really.
One thing
didn't really do a whole lot.
They ran 107 plays last week or something like that, which that's an incredible amount of
pass attempts. So,
they have
a really fast pace of play on offense, which
they just don't gain a lot, as we discussed. Dave, I think they only gain like 3 point something yards per player.
Well, they don't have a run game. They don't have a run game. They're just a passing
offense. They just throw it all over the yard, right? I mean, just like 50, have, 60, 70 attempts.
Their average play is run for 3.4 yards.
Wow.
So, but they're only giving up 3.6 per play to their opponents. So,
but let's not worry. Let's move over to the offense, Rob. Your point, though, I want to talk about that a little bit because it's pretty intriguing. That's a really weird stat there. They're running tons of plays, but not a lot of yardage. It's not a very efficient offense, and so I think if you can figure out how to get them in, more like 3rd and long situations, you would think you'd be able to get off the field because they're not picking up a lot of yardage. It must have a lot of short passing game. They're not getting vertical in that passing game. They're not breaking off big runs. So you got to figure out how to get them off the field, get them in a negative yardage on a 1st or 2nd down, and then get them 3rd and long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and they're only converting at like 43% or like 40 something % on 3rd down. Like they're terrible.
Well, there you go. I mean,
it's I mean, they're not. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. 47.3%. So less than 50% of the time they're converting 3rd down. So
yeah. All right. Well, Boomer, I think we are at the spread in this game was like what? 5.5 now?
It was 6.5 last time I looked. I'll have to try to get an updated number. It's had a lot of movement Nebraska's way, which is really intriguing.
A lot of money
to make of that. So
pouring in on Nebraska. So
this is a game I've had trouble predicting all year, and I don't know what the betting is saying about it. So everyone seems to be favoring the Huskers, which is odd given our general lack of covering anything so far this year. But I mean, nobody trusts Indiana either, which is fair. I've watched them play several times this year, and I wouldn't trust them either. So
we are.
We never bet Nebraska on our show, but this would definitely be a game I would not touch with a big 10-foot pole, as we'd like to say.
Vegas doesn't have those large hotels because they're losing. So
spreads at 5 back to 5.5 here currently. So most places. So but the money's definitely moved Nebraska's way. So
absolutely.
Interpret that the way you will. Listeners. So.
All right. Talon, you're looking for anything in this game? This is a night game on BTN. Is that right, guys?
Yes, I think
Yes.
so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
5:30 our time, Dave. I think so. 6:30.
Yeah, 6:30
6:30 in America's time zone,
Yep.
Rob.
America's
So.
time zone. Yeah,
Talon.
5:30
What are you looking for? Talon, what are you looking for in this game? Anything in particular?
I think you just gotta hope our secondary can hold up so we can get a pass rush. Like you said, if we can get them to 3rd and long, they're not converting very many. So I think that's the biggest thing. I don't think we have to necessarily worry about the run too much, but we've said that before. So
Yeah, that's the truth.
I think they're short passing offense. I think they look for a lot of screens, a lot of drag routes, crossing patterns. They're looking to run in space, and I think our guys should be faster. And we'll hope to see if we fix the open field tackling issue, because that's, I think, the biggest thing. Even with Northwestern, we were right there multiple times. They made one cut, and we looked like we were on ice. So yeah, that's the biggest thing. Just kind of keeping everything in front of us. Don't let anything get behind us, and just play smart. I think we press a lot. One big play happens, and then we feel like we need to make the greatest stop of all time the next drive to even be in the game, and then I think it just continues to snowball on us.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It'll be interesting to see what Bush does coverage-wise, if we play man-in-man or zone, to your point, keeping things in front of you, but then you got to be sure tacklers and close on that ball, because they are going to throw the ball a lot. You're going to have a lot of stuff where it's a 3-yard pass, and you're going to have to be a sure tackler, and we have not been that this year. So it's going to be really interesting to see if we can get enough stops. I feel like offensively we're going to score points on these guys.
After watching Cincinnati last week with them, Cincinnati was able to put up a ton of points, especially in that first half, and some of them were on very big plays too. They had like a 70-some yard pass. I know they had several over 30, able to sustain drives pretty well against them. So if our offense can kind of click, then we should be able to score a decent amount. And you score enough, and you're putting pressure on Indiana to pass every play, and maybe it's when you can get a couple interceptions and get that quarterback sack that we've been really lacking all year. And we'll see what happens. But
I think just keeping guys fresh too in the secondary. I mean, 104 plays. We need to be making sure we have guys
rotate
in, and who can actually.
Do we have enough guys to rotate though? That's been the question all year. Our depth is a problem.
So why not at this point, right?
Well, that's true. Yeah, well, we might see a lot of different faces, out in the field this week. Because why not? I mean, you got to figure something out for the rest of the season, possibly going into next year, and you've got about 4 games, I think, in this middle stretch. We always thought this was going to be, quote unquote, the easy stretch of the season to, try to make something happen. And now it's kind of, this is how you salvage something out of this season in these 4 games, because it doesn't get any easier by the end of it. And then, so you got to start with Indiana and see what happens. And, you can maybe build a little momentum for an early game against Rutgers that, is Friday for those that don't remember. So it's coming fast. So
that's true.
Yeah, I think that we can even go back to the old cliche that the best defense is going to be the offense, right? And how long they can stay on the field. And I think that this whole game will be determined. I think we'll know the result of this game by the second drive for this offense, because there's no doubt in my mind we can't drive down the field and score a touchdown the first possession. That's what we've been doing all season, like even against Oklahoma. So by the time that we get out there for the second possession, I can tell you right now, and this is my prediction, which is going to sound total Redcast rubbish, whatever. But if we score a touchdown on the second offensive possession, drive down and have a drive of like 4.5 minutes or more, then we're going to win this game by 3 scores.
All right. So two things out of that. Rob's calling the shot. If we score on our second drive, it's an automatic victory. So I'm going to hold you to that one, Rob. But I think your actual more intelligent point, though, is that offensively, if we can control the ball and hold on to some possessions and not allow them to have 104 plays, we're going to be a lot better off defensively.
Yeah, because their quarterback is terrible. Their quarterback is terrible. He has like worse accuracy than. Oh, never mind. We're not talking about that kid anymore. Because apparently he's got accuracy now and he can actually have game-winning drives. So I can't say that about him anymore. Yeah, but it's terrible, man. Like their quarterback is terrible. That's one thing that I did notice. So we're either going to make him look like a world beater this week, or we're going to shut him down completely, and our corners are going to come out with a bee in their bonnet since we're a family.
Sure,
So.
sure.
Well,
So
I think
the
the D line's performance maybe matters a little more if we can even get in pressure, because we don't sack QBs very often, and our D line was supposed to be a strength coming in. I think we just haven't touched them.
Yeah,
No, barely any pass rush. That's a good point. If Garrett Nelson or O'Shawn finally breaks loose, especially early in the game, that can make a big difference. Rattle them a little bit.
A 3 or 4 sack game, I think that would, especially on Rob's point, he doesn't think, their QB isn't that great. So you hit him 2 or 3 times, how is he going to respond?
Is this Connor Bazelak, the Missouri transfer?
yeah.
Yeah, he did nothing at Missouri to impress me either. So, yeah, I get it. Yeah. Well, Boomer, let me wrap this up by throwing this to you. What would it mean for the season if we win this game? I mean, it's not going to salvage everything, but do you feel like that'd be enough momentum to your point over these next couple of weeks where people are going to be a little more positive?
Well, I think so. It would be big for the players to get a win, just to kind of shake off a little bit of the funk of this first quarter of the season, because it's hard to take anything exciting out of those first 4 games. I mean, they know it was way less than ideal. They've got so many different coaches now that's, right up front, hey, this isn't going as planned. So this would give, them some confidence that, hey, we can win games. It would validate a little bit about what Joseph and Bush and everyone are trying to do with the season, because they're trying to shake everything up here and do the best they can with the limited time they have and the players they have available. So it would build some confidence there. And, they're definitely going to be trying some new lines out there, and Mickey's presser, they're going to be hopefully trying new players and giving others a shot. So it gives them some confidence that, hey, maybe we have found some players that can work. And, with the games that are coming up, none of these are world beaters. So you might have a little confidence can go a long way in these kinds of games. So maybe we'll see something that can work, and it'll keep working for a few games, and it can get something out of the season. So this is probably a big thing, because if you lose this game, I could see it being pretty easy to check out for the rest of the year. That's probably a risk. So it seems like we've been saying this every week. Like every week is just a high pressure game. This is the strangest season. So, but it's
for
weird.
one and 3 team.
I don't know what anyone's expecting out of this season anymore, but it could be a big turning point, I think. So
We're making a bowl, Boomer. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
We went
We're
out.
gonna be
We
well
can
eligible by
still
October,
go to a
so.
Big Ten championship. So.
We
That's
can
right.
still.
The West is still the prize.
Talon,
I'm just saying.
We control our destiny, Talon.
Perfect. Hey, I'm
that's
just
fair.
saying we have one loss in the Big Ten, so anything's possible.
We control our destiny
fellas.
here, so no
I'm
worries.
just saying, but we lose.
Whole
tomorrow.
season is in front of us, really.
Oh, yeah.
I really like this kid, Dave. I do.
No, I'm just saying. Hey, anything's. Hey, if Kirk Herbstreit can predict us to go to the Big Ten championship, I can kind of believe still, right? So
That's right. I mean, he's still got it out there. So, well, speaking of the Indiana game, Talon, you could also go for this if you want. If you're around Lincoln this weekend, Honky has been able to. He posted this earlier today, right, guys? That we are giving away 2 tickets to this Saturday's homecoming game versus Indiana. You do need to retweet on Twitter and follow the Redcast, secure your name in the drawing, and make sure you do that before 5 p.m. on Thursday, and then we'll announce the winner. Rob, you're gonna put all the names in a randomizer, right?
Yeah, I'll just pull a randomizer. I've got one that I use here. We'll nerd out. So if you want to shut your ears for a second,
You're not gonna write every single name on a piece of paper and put it in a big roll.
No. So for like
He's
a
got
lot of
ping-pong balls and
a lot of the
stuff.
comic book groups and things like that I'm in on social media, we do a lot of giveaways from artists and things like that, and we use these randomizers where you throw the names in. You can roll a dice beforehand. It gives you a number, and that's how many times you randomize it. And whoever comes out at the top, say after 10 rolls, will be the winner. So that's
Rob, actually, I suggest that you go onto eBay and get one of those lottery ping pong ball pickers like Boomer's talking about, and we could do a live show on it. I mean,
I already like blew my load on the whole Kool-Aid setup there, Dave. I don't know if I can afford to do another.
We don't have money for a lottery machine.
You know what? Actually, we might. Now that I think about it, if I can use the Redcast, all those dollars we're bringing in from the War Daddy Up shirts, you know what I mean? It's our sponsor, Smack and Smooch. Reach out to Lane or Shane and Laura, or Lane and Shora. Shane and Laura, and you can get yourself a War Daddy Up T-shirt from them too. So.
There you go.
All right, good stuff. Well, if you're listening live or hear this on the podcast before Thursday at 5, go ahead and retweet and follow the Redcast and get your name in there to win 2 tickets to the homecoming game this Saturday night.
Yeah, it is also our pinned tweet currently on Twitter for those of you just listening, so you can still find it there. So,
and for those of you that don't have a Twitter and are going to create one just to try to win the tickets, a pinned tweet means it's the tweet at the very top of our feed. All right, so for those of you that actually are,
thanks.
Yes,
thanks for the. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And tune in next week when Rob explains the internet to some of our other.
The files.
All right, guys.
The computer. The files are.
Let's see where. Let's move on to the Betcast.
The Betcast picks of the week.
All right, let's review last week, and obviously one of us wants to look at this, but the others don't.
Damn it, Boomer! You stole my mind.
Third victory of the year with my Utah 15.5 over Arizona State. I presumed that Arizona State would not be in good shape after losing Herm Edwards, and that was an easy one. I was sweating this a little bit because it was like the last game of the night, and I had so many other good bets. I had a really good weekend. I went like 10-5, and the Colorado bet should have been like the UCLA game. I should have just took UCLA to cover, which they easily did again. But I waited to the night game, but I didn't really have to sweat it too much. Utah took that one through. USC guys, I was like, you know what, I'm going to ride with the Betcast. I took both, Skip and Boomer's advice here. And Oregon State, even though they still lost the game, covered that and were generally within that 5.5 the entire night. And Rob, I also rode with you on the Michigan one. And that just never really materialized for the Wolverines.
They were up. Huh? They actually were covering. And I'm a little embarrassed here because, quite frankly, they
got up to 14. I don't think they ever got over 17.
No, I think weren't they up 17?
No, I was watching that all the way.
What did they end up winning by? What was the final
touchdown
of that game?
Yeah,
touchdown. Yeah, I thought that they were going to get up there, and then all of a sudden. It just never did. Like, I don't know what it was with Michigan in that game, but they looked flat the entire game. And then it took that one big touchdown at the end there to really seal the victory and put them up 2 scores. And now I'm 3-2. We're tied on the season, Dave. And I think that's really where I'm more embarrassed about.
Yeah. Well, your gut is, no match for my
still
mind,
a winner.
So.
My gut's still a winner. So, and we're tied, Dave. So I would say it's a perfect match for your mind.
All right. All right. Well, I haven't looked at too many of the bets so far this week, but, and Talon, I know you can't gamble in Nebraska, and you're not 21, so you shouldn't even be on this show.
We do not endorse.
We're gonna get our license revoked. Great.
Hey, don't worry. I'll tell them I'm 21.
We're gonna have the Kansas City Mafia on us for this one. So
Boomer, is there any games out there that have you intrigued?
Yeah, there's a couple I've been watching. One's another matchup between head coach candidates at Iowa State, Kansas. Iowa State's still getting -3 on that, so or -3.5 depending on where you're looking. So apparently Vegas didn't have a ton of faith in Kansas, and that's at Lawrence. So I'm intrigued by that one. And another Big Ten matchup I've kind of been watching: Illinois and Wisconsin. Wisconsin coming up just a complete dismantling against Ohio State, and there's a lot of rumbling up in Madison. For this week. And then you've got Brett Bielema with his Fighting Illini coming in, and they're 7-point dogs right now. And if Illinois is ever going to knock off Wisconsin, this might be the week to do it. I'm almost considering Illinois, as a winner on that outright. But if you're going to give me 7 points, I certainly might take them there.
This opened up at 9, and I almost took it right then. I was like, "Ooh, boy,
9, definitely." I might have definitely jumped on that at 9, but even 7 isn't bad. So those are a couple I've been watching. So. But
what about Utah, Oregon State at 10.5?
Yep, absolutely.
Or another 10.5. Michigan and Iowa.
Oregon State's a tricky good. Like we said, against USC, they looked good. Now their defense at home might be better than that, but they played really, really well.
Yeah, Utah's really good at home, though.
Yeah, I mean that's where it's a trick, right? Like
That's the altitude,
yeah.
Dave.
Yeah, it's the altitude. Where's Honky when we need him? Yeah, that was a game. I was telling. I'm glad you brought that game up because I was looking at that. I'm trying to stick to top 25 stuff right now, like just looking through all that. And that's the first time that I can actually say I sat up and watched Oregon State play an entire game, and I was really impressed with their defense. Really impressed, especially against a team like USC, which was supposed to be very explosive, right? And they have like this great transfer quarterback who came from Oklahoma, who's like, supposed to be one of the Caleb Williams, who's supposed to be like one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And then, basically against Oregon State, they did not look like the team they're supposed to be, right? So it's like, are they going to do the same thing to Utah in this game? 10.5 points. It seems scary to me. Like, I think if it was like 9.5 or something, I might be intrigued.
It opened at 9.5.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, if it was still 9.5, I'd be intrigued. But the fact that it's over, basically it's over 2 scores now, right? It's kind of scary. I don't know. That's a tough one. I
still might look at that one. I do think Utah is really good at home. They have a good atmosphere there. Oregon State exerted a lot of energy and put a lot into trying to pull off that upset. It's tough to go back on the road and turn that around.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see what Oregon State's like injury report looks like and all that after a game like that too. So
sure,
but I mean, it's intriguing. I mean, I'm glad you brought that one up because that was actually one I wanted to touch on. So,
well, I just think
Rob,
QB throws 4 picks and you only lose by 3 against a top 10 team. Something's got to be clicking on defense, So
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Your QB did throw 4 picks, though. Is that right? Holy cow!
Yeah, threw 4 picks and they only lost by 3. So I mean, I would say USC's offense is better than Utah's.
It's a different offense. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'd say it's much different. I don't know. Utah's man, they're just efficient. They're very efficient.
Smart QB.
Too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Cam Rising is good. I don't know. That's interesting. Rob, do you have anything else on your board?
I do. In the game that I think literally nobody will watch because it's the 8:30 game on ESPN here in Colorado, which means it's a 10:30 start in New York, so 9:30 in America's time zone, and it's at UCLA, so there's not going to be anybody in the stands. Washington at UCLA is only favored by 3. And quite frankly, if there's nobody in the stands to see the game, does that even count as a home game for UCLA? I think Washington covers.
I think it counts as a game.
I think Washington covers cleanly. I mean, Washington, I have a feeling will just blow UCLA out on this one, even if it is a Skip Kelly offense. I'm not. UCLA is 4-0. I get it. They're 4-0, but this is the sort of game that Chip Kelly loses. So this is
very under the radar 4-0, obviously. That's an interesting call, Rob. I'll look at that one. I've got a couple we haven't mentioned yet. I'll go back to the Big Ten before heading back out to the West Coast. Minnesota, and I don't know what the line is. I already got this bet at -9.5 versus Purdue. I presume it's gone up now.
Oh, especially if O'Connell's not playing. Yeah, that might be.
I grabbed that at 9.5 on Sunday, and very happy with that.
It is. It's 12.5 right now, Dave.
12.5.
You got it. I got feel, Dave. Yep.
I got some value there, so I don't know if I'll use that as my best bet at 12.5. But with
even
O'Connell being out, wow, that's
even at 12.5. I think. I mean, Purdue.
You can get them under 2 touchdowns. You probably take them.
Part of my language, but Purdue is kind of ass this year, and so I don't think that we're going to have.
Minnesota looks good.
Yeah, Minnesota
looks like Big Ten West champions is what they look like right now.
After 4 games, they sure do.
Yeah.
And then I do have Arizona State 17.5 versus Colorado. I imagine that line's gone up as well already. And then I got San Diego State +6 over Boise. Boise shouldn't be favored against any decent team at this point. They have no offense. Quarterback's a mess. I think Backmeyer's in the portal now, so they're kind of that freshman. And San Diego State can just muck things up and keep it close. I don't know if they'll win that game, but I think they can keep it within the touchdown. So
it's funny, Dave, because everything you just said about Boise right now you could have like substituted Nebraska there, and you probably could have given the same analysis, but we're way more positive about our team, right? So it's
yeah. And another random game I was kind of watching, a little action, Ohio at Kent State.
Oh,
right now it's minus 11, which might be a little high for what I'd like for Kent State. But you know, when I was looking at it, Kent State has just had the most brutal non-con schedule like in America.
Sure.
They played Washington, they played Oklahoma, and they played Georgia last week. I mean, who the hell scheduled that? And they played Georgia really well, and they played Oklahoma.
How much money have they gotten for that, though? That's what I want.
Well, the players not much, but the school's done well.
Well, you know, maybe they started like a NIL fund on the side for.
Well, maybe they sure need it after that. But I mean, heck, they should be as sharp as anybody in the MAC after coming off of that schedule. And
they have no reason.
They were trading blows with Georgia. That could have been the upset of the year. But of course, the SEC, we can't have nice things. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't have wanted to see them play anybody. I mean, outside those three teams, I mean, they're three top 25 teams, right? Yeah, it's they're good. That'll be an interesting game too. So
game totals at 68 right now. That would be a fun game to watch.
Well, that's a MAC. That's
I think so. Yeah. So I'll definitely watch it. So.
The action game.
What's Iowa's game total? Do they have Iowa's playing this week?
Michigan against Michigan. So.
Oh yeah, against Michigan. So what's the total?
I think they were
42.
7.5. I think they were 7.5 point underdogs.
42. That was another game that did we talk about that one already? I don't think it's a
10.
No, sure haven't.
Yeah, it's 10.5 right now is what I'm seeing, and the over/under is 42, which always cracks me up because you'd think Michigan it would be higher. So are they just assuming that obviously with a 10.5 point spread, they're assuming Michigan's going to score most of those points? So that's a tough one too because this is traditionally as number 4 team in the country. This is traditionally the type of game that Michigan is going to end up losing. Harbaugh likes to blow games like this.
Traditionally a game that Iowa wins. They're at home against a top opponent. They usually pull off one of these per year practically. And that's one I probably am going to avoid. Maybe I'll take Iowa to plus 11, to be honest with you. I mean,
it's plus 10.5 right now is what I'm seeing.
I'm seeing DraftKings at plus 11 right now.
Oh, nice. No, very good. And you could even buy it up to that too, I guess, if you really wanted to, and still it wouldn't be that much.
Yeah, DraftKings is 11. So,
okay.
Talon, is any games out there that you're going to be watching that we haven't mentioned yet?
Just Wake Forest, Florida State. Florida State's a 7-point favorite at home.
Really?
I think I'll take Wake.
That's actually an astute call right there.
I looked at myself actually.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, I don't trust Florida State that much, and I think Wake looks pretty good.
Florida State's a good team, but I think
Talon, if you want to Venmo me some money, just let me.
Oh, really?
I got FanDuel and DraftKings. Is that like buying alcohol for minors? Is that what that is?
It's not acceptable on the Redcast, Robert. You swore, and now you're unbelievable.
I know. I'm blowing up. I'm going to get another phone call tonight.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I think you're up to 3 now, Rob. I think you're up to 3.
All right, guys. It's time to get out of here. I think if I can find the parting shots. Here we go. Parting shots. And I'll start with Boomer.
Oh Lord, I don't even know what my parting shot was anymore at this point. Yeah, it disintegrated somewhere in that in the whole bet.
Tell you what, Boomer, collect your thoughts, and we'll give the floor to our guest. And
that's fair. We'll start with a guest. I think
have a parting shot. Anything you want to just say? Anything you didn't get to say earlier in the conversation? Anything you want to mention about the show? You name it. Floor is yours.
I think I have kind of a take on the Huskers. I think we beat. How we have that tough last 3 games of the year.
Yeah,
I think we win 2 out of those 3 games.
Whoa, I like it. So we're gonna upset some combination of Wisconsin, Iowa, and Michigan. All right,
yes,
that's a hot take right there.
I think we take care of Iowa, and I think we can find a way to beat Wisconsin, or at least maybe not Michigan, but I think we could probably take Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think it's some disarray. I like that.
Yeah. One, I think the next couple games here, I think we can really figure out who we are as a defense, and I think we're only going to get better. I don't think we can get worse.
It'd be hard.
Yeah,
This is
so-
true.
Never say we can't get worse. So we said that before, and
I
we did rock bottom a
I
lot
would
of
say,
times. And we keep finding
to
more
Talon's
rocks and more
point
bottoms,
there,
so, yeah.
the Big Ten offenses won't expose this defense as much, at
No.
least from the passing game perspective. So maybe that's something. We'll see. All right, Rob, how about you? We'll go to you.
Well, as we come into this Indiana weekend, homecoming weekend, I just want to remind all of our fellow Husker fans out there that it is a 0-0 record right now that we have. That's just the way that this team is going into every single game. They're just, it's the next stop sign. I mean, we're not trying to win any press conferences, and we're just going out there and just trying to kick some ass. And that's really what it is. So I think I got all the cliches from the press conference in one parting shot. Let me know if I missed any in the comments.
All right. And for our final parting, go ahead.
Oh, was there something
sorry, I
else?
heard
I
something.
didn't know if Rob had
Nope,
more that he was
nope.
going to throw out there. So
All right.
I'm
final
not
parting
honky.
shot.
I'm not honky.
no 3.5. So okay. No, but I just
All right.
again just wanted to remind everyone to look for our pinned tweet and get in for those tickets. They are honky seats. They're decent seats. So there's 2 there, so you get a good view of the game. And I do have some late breaking footage here of the possible repeat of the new and improved Herbie Husker. So there we go. I think that's the early shot. So look forward to that next season, folks. So enjoy that. So.
That's great, Boomer. All right, that's why we were switching.
That's going to be
over.
my new
I like it.
Redcast uniform, I think, is what that's going to be. So
If I could get
Nice.
Rob in that outfit next year at a game, that'd be classic.
well,
It's
I
totally
will,
worth it.
Dave. That's what do you
Well,
mean?
he will
if?
do it,
Like,
Dave.
Yeah,
That's
you
what
get
I'm
me
gonna
the
make it
outfit. I
happen,
will
so.
put it on. I think you underestimate my
someone send him the outfit.
my
Right now.
yeah. I think you
Yep.
underestimate my self-esteem.
We know some tailors
think
and
you-
stuff on here, so I think
There
we
you
can
go.
make
We
that
just need to
happen
make-
eventually.
There
We
we
just
go.
need to make the outfit, and then it will be
Well,
so.
your wife is crafty, dude. So get on it, Katie.
Hey, how do we know?
I know
how do we
she's
know if-
listening right now.
How do we know if Rob doesn't wear that, we don't win some games next year, huh?
I mean,
That's
Well,
right.
they win.
Everything
They
so
win.
far hasn't
They
worked,
win
so why the hell
one
not?
game while I'm wearing that, and I will buy season tickets and go to every single game, or try to get like a Redcast like press pass and just go on the field as that guy every single time.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
And by the way, I am so glad that I'm not the only one with a cat that wants to jump on the screen. I've had to kick him off twice tonight.
Yeah.
So.
2 of them.
All right,
And
guys.
mine's a tabby too, so go big. Red.
Yeah, yeah, right.
All right. Great show, guys. Talon, appreciate you joining us. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can do it again sometime.
I
For
love it.
now,
Thank you
let's
very
call
much.
that. Absolutely, Talon. Appreciate it. For now, let's call that a Go Big Redcast.
Go big red.
A Huda Media Production.